All right, welcome sumo fans and wannabe sumo fans and everybody else. We are trying something a little new. We are going to be talking about our new obsession, and that is sumo wrestling.
That's right.
It's your boys from Battle School Dropouts. I'm Stu.
And I'm Bakari.
And we realized we needed to do a different podcast because if we talked about sumo wrestling on our main podcast, our podcast would just turn into a sumo wrestling podcast.
It would get taken out. Like we upload generously about once a month, and the sumo tournaments happen every other month. So it'd be every other month we'd just be talking about sumo the whole episode. So we had to quarantine that into a completely separate project, and here we are.
Yeah, and it's so welcome to Sumo School Dropouts.
Mm-hmm. We didn't make it. We didn't make the height requirement, unfortunately.
I know, yeah.
A couple short kings, they weren't ready for us. I'm only 6'1".
Yeah. I think we're also like, I don't know, a couple, like I'm a pretty hefty dude, but I think I'm still like 100 or 200 pounds below where I would need to be to punch through these guys.
Yeah, I watched a little YouTube documentary about Chiyono Fuji, who is a former Yokozuna, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he was a pretty small guy, and like he was about my size, like a little smaller, but not by much. He was like 6 foot 260, and they're like, yeah, this itty bitty little shrimp of a man." And I'm like, I'm big by most people's standards, but
yeah.
The sumo wrestling world, that's a very different standard. So.
Yeah, it kind of puts it into. It's like watching basketball, right? Where it's like, oh, who's that short guy out there? And he's like 6'2". It's like, oh, I forgot. Everyone there is a giant.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a completely different. We were just looking at Midori Fuji, who like we affectionately call like, oh, the littlest guy, and he was like, he's what 5'9" and 250 something like.
Yeah. He's like the same height as me, and he's the small guy. Like, yeah. What is happening?
He is the smallest by a wide margin too. Like, yeah. I think the next smallest sumo wrestler has something like 30 kilos on him.
Yeah, no, he's a little guy out there, but
yeah.
We love him. Well, let's get into things. So during this episode, we're gonna talk about the November Banzuke. Excuse me, I already biffed it. Everybody's gone.
You're thinking Bankai, right? Like Bleach, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the November Banzuke, aka the November tournament that's coming up. That's going to start on November 10th. So we're going to talk about our favorite wrestlers, and then we're also going to talk about we're going to make 3 predictions for this tournament and see if it comes true by the end of it. So
yeah.
You can score more points here.
Yeah.
And then, but first, let's start with this. So on this channel we do a anime podcast, like you said, generously once a month. For anybody who's listening that's not a sumo fan, give me like a 30-second like pitch on like, okay, why should people watch this tournament?
Yeah.
Or why should people watch sumo?
So I went into sumo, just randomly clicked a YouTube video in March and ended up watching the NHK recaps of the entire thing, like over the next day or two. And, the matches are so quick and they're so electrifying, and, it's actually surprisingly accessible for a non-Japanese speaking guy not living in Japan. You can watch every match in the top division in high quality with English commentary, in like very snappy 25-minute segments in the NHK recaps. And it's great. If you like sports, if you like combat sports, if you just like watching dudes beat the fuck out of each other and go, like, if you want to see a 400-pound man go airborne and go flying and maybe land on a 60-year-old Japanese salaryman, this is the sport for you. I've never been the world's biggest sports guy, but god damn it, I cannot stop thinking about sumo.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really love about it is that the tournaments are 15 days, and like you're dead on. Like the recaps that they do on NHK are they're great. They're super accessible, and it's really fun. Like if you pick a few people that you like, you can follow their story as they go through the tournament because they're gonna do one match every day. So there's all these highs and lows across these 15 days, and it's super entertaining to watch. And like, oh, this guy needs to be this guy, but if this guy gets this guy, it just builds out so organically.
Yeah, there's kind of pre-existing stories like so and so are brothers, or like they've been rivals since high school or whatever, and then there's kind of storylines that build throughout the tournament as well. And it's fascinating. Like there's a real drama element to it. Not drama in like a reality TV sort of way, but like you get invested in the people and not just, who's smacking who harder or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I it's so funny. Like I always feel like at the start of a tournament, I struggle to remember, oh right, this is this guy. Or especially when I first started watching, I was really kind of struggling with who was who. And then by like, a few days worth of watching of the tournaments, I was like, fully invested. I know who's who. I know who's good. I know who sucks. Like I know I can start to. I think about how these things are going to shape out. It just hooks you once it's got you.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I think there's still a few like a good amount of Rikishi who like. I know that they exist. If I saw their face, I'd be like, yeah, I've seen that guy. But like, if you ask me to tell you something about Go no Yama, like, sorry, I'm just not there yet. Like, he's not someone I've been paying as much attention to. Like, there's like 40-something dudes, 43 guys or something like that. It takes some time, but
yeah. But yeah, it's super, super easy to get into. I love it.
Yeah. Like, I think anybody you show them, like, at NHK day one of this tournament, and like by the end of that 25-minute video, they will probably have a favorite. Like, they'll be rooting for someone, like someone caught their attention, caught their eye,
yeah,
and it won't be Ryuden.
Some of these guys are like really flashy, and really like they do some great stuff.
Absolutely.
One of my favorites here is great. I also I'll just say for anybody who's new to this too, one thing that really helped me, and this is super dorky, but I would break open like a notes app essentially, and I would write down, like, if I saw somebody do well, I'd be like, Daisho did a cool thing or whatever.
Oh,
and then when I watch future episodes or future days, I'm like, I look over like the previous notes. I'm like, oh, Daisho. Oh, cool, Daisho. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't do that, but I definitely needed to have like many Wikipedia pages open. Like I was struggling to like figure out the rules of the tournament as we were watching it.
Yes.
Because like I watched day 15 knowing jack shit, and then like went back to day 1, and it didn't really matter because like any spoilers that I saw, I watched Takeru Fuji win the March tournament, and I was like, okay, a guy won, great. And then by the end of it, I was like watching day 15 again, I was like, oh my god, he did that. Completely different experience. So yeah, it's sort of a strange, maybe esoteric kind of thing to our American sensibilities. Like it's not something you're gonna understand immediately, but also like it's more accessible, I think, than a lot of people think it to be. So
yeah, well, it's nice having the commentary in English, and the fact that like yeah, there's a bunch of different rules, but generally it's like only the soles of your feet can touch the ground. Mm-hmm. So if your hand, your knee, anything touches the ground, you lose. And if you go outside of the ring, you lose. And then it's like outside of that, you can't like punch or kick, but you can push and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So
you can kick insofar as like you can leg sweep a little bit.
Yeah, but you can't like Spartan kick some dude in the chest.
Yeah, that's very true. Not one of the recognized Kimarite.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sumo's one weakness or one problem, And
they could do it too. A lot of these guys, I think before this March, I was like kind of under the impression, like, oh yeah, fat guys. But like these dudes are not just athletic, they are flexible as hell.
Yeah, it's crazy how in shape these guys are.
Totally.
I think like it's funny how much sumo wrestlers I think have been made fun of in like a lot of stuff I've seen, growing up and all that. And like you watch these guys and you just watch like a few matches and you're like, oh my god, these are huge dudes in like surprisingly good shape. Like some guys go down and they don't look great, and then you learn like, oh yeah, he was injured and that's why he sucked.
Yeah, like, they've been like injuring and re-injuring the same leg since 2017 or something.
Yeah,
I guess I can give him a break for that.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are in spectacular shape, despite
Absolutely.
the fact that they look huge.
It is a very demanding sport, to be sure.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's get it. So we've got the what am I going to say? Primer there for anybody. Let's do a little bit about us. Let's go back and forth. We picked 3 wrestlers that are our favorites. So let's go back. I'll say one, then you say one, if that works for you.
Sounds good.
Just kind of tell you what our sensibilities are for going into this. So mentioned him earlier. I really like Daisho. One of the first so you showed me Sumo, and then I started learning more. And one of the preview things, they had an interview with Daisho, and his whole thing was, I'm only going to do pushing thrusting. That's the only thing I'm going to learn and practice and do. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to just do it really, really well. And I'm not going to like make a mistake by trying something different that I'm not comfortable with. I'm really good at this, and I'm just going to stick with it. And I'm like, I love that stubborn attitude where it's like, I have a thing I like, I'm only going to do that thing. And he's good. He's up there. I think he's Sekiwake. So he's one of the better sumo wrestlers, or at least higher ranked. And he always does a great job. And it's just so fun to watch this guy. Just like he's there to push and thrust, and he does it like every time, and he is very good at it. So I really like him.
I really respect that philosophy. Like, I just have to do one thing the best in the world. Easy enough.
It's a good strategy, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like the pusher thrusters are always kind of the most fun to watch. Just in terms of like how explosive their matches tend to be. Like there's so much strategy with like, you know, all the grappling and stuff. Like, oh, they're using this right hand, like right underarm Mawashi grip or something like that. That's all really interesting. But like, just watching a guy smack the living shit out of another guy, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's also great. Yeah,
yeah,
and just push him forward. Like, this is another like brick wall of a human being, and you are just like making them tumble backwards with your own strength. Like,
with
that's
your
awesome.
Arms. That's crazy.
But yeah, I love Daisho.
Nothing but respect there. Sure, I'll go with my Sanyaku pick here. So my absolute favorite sumo wrestler, Rikishi, is Koto Zakura, formerly known as Koto Nowaka. Formerly known as Koto Kamatani, but I wasn't around when he was doing that. He is an Ozeki, which is the second highest rank that you can have, right below Yokozuna. And the thing that immediately captured me about him was, and you see this in the NHK videos, at least you see this before every single bout. He has like a very neutral, very like, I don't want to say dopey, but like a slightly dopey face. Like, not that he looks dumb or anything, but like he's just kind of got this.
He looks a bit unassuming.
Yeah, unassuming for sure. He's just kind of like vacant. You don't know what he's thinking. And then he does his little routine, like he gets his towel and he, you know, wipes himself off and stuff, and he throws the salt. And then as he's like right before he steps into the ring, he turns around to the audience and he does this big flex, this like move, and all of a sudden his face is completely transformed. Like he hulks before he goes into the ring, and I get so pumped up every single time. I've seen him do it. This is my March, and then May, and then July, and then September. So this is going to be my 5th tournament. So I've watched him do it 60 times, and I'm about to watch him do it 15 more times. And you bet I'm going to do it along each and every time I see it.
It is really cool.
It's so cool.
He's really grown on me. I definitely didn't think that much of him the first tournament that I watched, but you're dead on that. Like the bracing, you know, like the flexing. It's very cool.
The other thing I really like about him is he has like kind of a story behind him that so Koto Zakura is the name of his grandfather on his mother's side, who was formerly a yokozuna, and apparently when President Koto Zakura was a kid, he had an agreement with his grandfather. If he got to the rank of Ozeki, he would take his grandfather's sumo name and try to get to the rank of Yokozuna. Right before I started watching sumo, he had ascended to Ozeki, thus passing the highest rank that his father, Koto Nowaka, ever got to. So he has ascended from his father's title of Koto Nowaka up to Koto Zakura, and now he's trying to live up to that name and get to the Yokozuna. And I really, really need to see it happen, even though he hasn't won a tournament yet, but I really need to see it.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting too, because Daisho, I believe, also has like a sumo lineage as well, and like one of his I think one of his dad or his grandfather or something was Yokozuna back in the day, and so he's like, yeah, I gotta climb up, I gotta get further, I've got a family to live up to. It's interesting how that all works.
I love that kind of. It's like it's instant drama. Like I don't mean to be like it's just like one of my Japanese animes, but like it's I've watched enough sports anime where like that's the main thrust is like, oh, my dad did it, or oh, this guy I look up to did it, like. And I want to see it happen. That's instant protagonist material to me.
Yeah, no, it's a very cool story to have.
Totally.
All right, we talked about him earlier. My second pick for favorite wrestler here. Should I say wrestler or should I say Rikishi?
Rikishi is that a lot of people don't consider sumo to be wrestling. It is like more of a full combat sport kind of thing. Nobody's going to fault you for saying sumo wrestler, though, I don't think. So, if you don't feel like using the Japanese word, I think you're fine.
Yeah. Well, my favorite guy, I guess, or another one of my favorite guys. I am a big fan of Midori Fuji. Like we were saying, he's our favorite littlest guy.
He sure
and
is.
By littlest, he's like 5'9", I guess.
Yeah. Like pretty normal height for most people.
Yeah, but I mean, you see him get out there, and he pretty much always looks a good chunk smaller than the people he's going against, and as a result, he's got to be like very like creative with how he's going to get through that bout, because he's not just going to like topple the other person over.
Yeah,
and yet he does really well. Like his matches are not just like exciting. Oh, but he loses or whatever. It's like. No, he knows what he's doing, and he
totally.
He just outspeeds people. He can get out. He can get around behind him. He can, he's also incredibly strong, even considering how small he is. So I love every match with Midori Fuji.
He is like maybe one of the scrappiest sumo wrestlers there too. Like he goes in on people, like very aggressive, and I love that.
Yeah, he's definitely It's cool that he doesn't have like some kind of like cheesy strategy or something. Like he's still very like in the match, ready to fight.
Yeah. He's not trying to be deceptive. Like I don't have any memory of him ever going for like a henka, which is like a dirty trick that is legal. Has more dignity than some sumo people. Abi. I have such a, I was going to say love-hate relationship, but it's more like he is my nemesis and I wouldn't have it any other way. Abi, I mean.
Abi?
Yeah.
ABI, right?
ABI, yeah.
Yeah.
He is, he was last tournament, he was a Komusubi. I'm not sure what he's at right now. He's Maegashira 3.
Maegashira 3, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, love Midori Fuji. He's definitely like in my top 10 for sure. I haven't really ranked him out that far. Maybe top 5. I don't know. But yeah, my next favorite is gonna be, and this I feel like this spot kind of jumps around a lot, but one of my favorites is Nishikigi, who is presently Maegashira rank 6. This guy, when I first saw him, I think in the March tournament, he went 3-12. Yep. And I was like, so I'm watching him lose again and again and again. He beats Teruno Fuji. He beats the sitting Yokozuna day 1. And I'm like, oh, dang, okay. Yeah, to beat the reigning champion. That's pretty tight. And then I watched him lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 matches in a row. And I was like, what's up with this guy? Get him out of here. But and then the next tournament, he went 5-10. The following tournament, he went 5-10. And then in September, he went 11-4. Just kind of out of nowhere. He just pulled it out. Like, he looks and just carries himself different. I've read that, a couple of years ago, he was a very different Rikishi. Like, he performed very differently, and like he's been in kind of a slump. But yeah, so maybe this is more me seeing the old Nishikigi rather than like, this being like some new transformation of his. But he kind of has this sort of like or had this sort of Eeyore like down in the dumps just atmosphere around him. Like he'd walk in and be like, okay, all right, and then he'd lose. And like half the time they'd like have him by the belt and he could keep fighting, but he's just like, all right, just push me out, man. Who cares?
Yeah, he really just seemed to just give up.
Yeah, totally. And so to see him like make such a dramatic transformation, like I really can't help but root for him. I was already kind of rooting for him, like, come on, man, like don't go out like that. Like that's a bummer. You're making me sad. And now that he's actually turned it around, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so cool.
I'm with you because I was really confused on the last tournament because I started watching I watched the May and July tournaments basically, and like every time he was up, I'm like, all right, this is a free win for whoever my guy is, you know,
yeah.
whoever like this guy just doesn't do it. And then when he's like, and I just went into that with the same mentality in the September tournament. I was like, yeah, oh, it's Nishiki. That means the other guy wins or whatever. And then he kept winning. I'm like, what is happening? Did I write down all my notes wrong? Like, what is this?
Yeah, no, he just turned it up, and I really hope that that's here to stay. Like, I really hope that performance continues into this upcoming tournament. I really want to see him do well. I would love to see him in Sanyaku. Honestly, I think that would be really cool. Like Komusubi, Sekiwake, that would be really awesome.
It would be such a bummer if he doesn't like keep the same pace on this tournament.
Yeah.
If he goes back, like what happened? Like you just decided to spike for one tournament and then you're like, ugh.
You got to get that job security. You know, now that he's up to rank 6, he's like, I'm getting my Maegashira salary for a while yet. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I don't need to do this again for a while, I guess.
Yeah, you can just coast for the next couple of tournaments. I really hope that that's not the case, though. I really hope he does well.
Yeah, it'd be a real bummer if one of your favorites was just decided to suck.
Yeah.
All right, what my final favorite wrestler, and this is no surprise to anybody who watches sumo, I love Ura.
Oh yeah.
And everybody loves Ura. Like,
how do you not love that guy? Like, just look at him.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's such a basic answer, you know. It's like saying like I like candy or whatever. Like everybody fucking.
My
likes
favorite
candy.
basketball player is Michael Jordan. You know.
Yeah,
reasons,
exactly. And not to say that he's like the best wrestler or whatever, but he's definitely like very, very good. But he's just such a blast to watch. Every match is like, he's not the biggest wrestler, though by no means small. So he has like a ton of different options, and this is going to make him sound bad, but it seems like he never has a plan when he goes into it. And
it's a very freestyle style of sumo for sure.
Yeah, he has like this is a stat I'm going to get wrong. This is incorrect what I'm about to say, but I'm pretty sure I heard that he's got like the most like diverse types of wins of like current wrestlers or something like that, because a lot of people like when somebody wins a match, it's like, okay, he throws him over the you know, it's a what is it, like arm bar throw or whatever. Like there's a few that you hear over and over about how a person won, and like Ura just gets, there's 82 different like, you know, call outs for how somebody wins, and Ura's it's like different every time.
Totally. Yeah. I'm looking at his stats right now. So like the vast majority of like sumo wins is done by yorikiri, which is basically you grab somebody and you force them out of the ring. Very standard stuff, right? So a lot of, and then the other like most common one is oshidashi, where you push someone out as opposed to grabbing them. You like, you know, push them out with your arms. So like most sumo wrestlers that you look at, like I'm looking at like Takeru Fuji right now, 38% of his wins are by oshidashi, 36% of his wins are by yorikiri. So like that's already 74, something like that, percent. Ura, 17% oshidashi, 14% yorikiri. So 31% of his wins are by those two super common techniques, and then everything else is like drastically different. Like he does not do the standard sumo win nearly as much as a lot of other wrestlers do.
Yeah, and like and sometimes it seems to be like almost to his detriment. Like when he loses a lot of the times it doesn't look good. It's like, oh man, what were you thinking there? But like the matches that like he wins or like they're just always exciting. Like you don't see a lot of Ura matches where you're like, that sucked. Like win or lose, they're always fun to watch.
They're always so exciting. Yeah, I'm totally with you there. He's like one of the most dynamic sumo wrestlers for sure. He had a background in. I've watched videos of him like in his like much younger days, when he was kind of starting out in sumo, and like he started out. He had like a background in acrobatics. Like there are videos of him.
Whoa.
Very lean, very like, just lean and muscular, doing like triple back handsprings and stuff. Crazy flips.
That explains a ton because
dude makes so much sense, doesn't it?
He's very strong, but he's also really agile.
Totally.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That explains a ton about that dude.
Yeah, because like I'm sure there's a lot of Rikishi you can kind of look at in their past and like, they're just like, yeah, they're athletic or whatever, but like, oh yeah, that's a big chunky guy. Like if he's the type that like if he were in America, someone would be like, you try out for the football team, son, like that kind of. But Ura, like that was he had like a gymnast physique almost, like a bit more muscly, sure, but like yeah, he was he put on that weight specifically to be good at sumo. Like he had a very, very, very different physique before.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
dude. Before we get off Ura, I just want to talk about a couple just last second things. I really love he has this thing where he walks into the ring and he like has this like breathing where like he raises his like right arm kind of up to his chest and he breathes in and then he like kind of pushes the air out and opens his eyes, and I find myself doing that if I'm like kind of stressed out or like if I'm on my way to work, just as like a kind of a breathing exercise as a way to kind of like bring power to myself.
Totally.
Love it.
I had a thought actually. I was like, I think he went against Koto Sakura a couple tournaments ago, and like so you see Koto Sakura do his big like like his big flasks, and then like the next up is like Ura doing his very like calm and meditative thing, and I was like, this is a fighting game intro. Like put these two in a fighting game. I want a sumo fighting game so bad, but like if I made one, they would be my Ryu and Ken. Like there, one of them's like serene and the strong silent type, and the other one's like the more aggressive one. It's so sick. I love it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then the last thing, real quick, guy's got a great smile.
Oh, he does. No, he's got a lovely face. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very charming man.
I think the bright pink Mawashi also helps. Like he's the only person with that.
Yeah. Well, Daisho also has a pink Mawashi.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. Oh. I like both the pink boys.
I suppose you do. I didn't realize it was the same. He also had a pink. Well, that's weird. Oh yeah, no, I see it. It's like it's a different shade, but yeah, it's still like
yeah. It's not exactly the same, but I mean, there's nobody else that you see in the Grand Sumo that has that color close to it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I too love Ura. Like if somehow you had not put him in your top 3, I probably would have.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. Thank you for letting me ramble about him for a little while there. Who is your last favorite wrestler there?
So this one was a struggle. There's so many shout outs Takayasu, shout out Hokuto Fuji, shout out the man himself, Teruno Fuji, right? Like there's so many Ono Sato and Hoshoryu and all these different sumo wrestlers. It's so hard to pick one. But I have to talk about the guy who got me into this to begin with, and that is Takeru Fuji. So I gave you the play-by-play after I watched the March tournament. But this guy came in, my gosh, you were ranked 17, I'm pretty sure. And his debut, very first time in Makuuchi, like the top division of sumo. And he came in and he went on a 12-win streak. Or 13, no, 12. Yeah, I think it was 12. He just started like Day 1, Day 2, Day 3. And I'm just like, whoa, this this new guy, he's a bit of an upstart. And then he wins day 4 and day 5 and day 6 and day 7. And it just goes and goes and goes. And it starts off, of course, he's going against like the rest of the, bottom of the barrel in the top division. And then he beats a Komusubi, and then he beats a Sekiwake, and then he beats an Ozeki. And like, it's just he seemed unstoppable, and then Hoshoryu did in fact put a stop to the streak. But he was so fun to watch, and he won that tournament. Even day 14 he loses, he gets injured. Day 15, and like it looks kind of bad, he's like hobbling, off of the dohyo, and then day 15 he comes and competes anyway on an injured ankle, wins. But which crazy first time that happened, like that that happened in 110 years, they said. So like made history, what he did, like just showing up at Makuuchi and winning the whole thing, like first time. And then after that, because of that injury, he ended up having to take some time off. I think he sat out the next tournament, and then he like competed like 2 days in another tournament. And this last one, he's been on a real tear, and now he is back. Maegashira rank 16. So he's coming back, at the bottom once again. While he's been gone, Onosato has gone from, I think he was like mid Maegashira, in March. He has gone all the way up to Ozeki now. So, and there seems to be a little bit of a rivalry between the two of them. Onosato ended up, if Takeru Fuji had lost that that day 15 match, then Onosato would have tied with him, and because he probably wouldn't have been able to, win in a playoff, Onosato would have won that tournament. And he was kind of talking in like an interview or something like that, saying like, I feel a little upset that like, someone from my class, because they're like super close in age, and I have had many bouts in the past. He was like, I'm kind of upset that like someone else like made this historic thing and kind of went over my head to do it. While Takeru Fuji's been out, Onosato has gone all the way up to Ozeki, and now this tournament is going to be their first time in the same tournament again since March. So I am so excited. I like Onosato a lot. I think he's great, but he's had it a little too easy. I don't know how he's making an ass out of all these, out of like all these high ranked sumo wrestlers and stuff. But someone's got to take him down a peg, and I think Takeru Fuji's the one to do it.
Yeah. No, it's funny you saying all this, because I have a prediction about Onosato. And
do you?
Yeah, and so it'll be very interesting. I'm very excited to see Takeru Fuji, because when I got started, like you told me this cool guys just tearing up the tournament and all that, and then I'm like, cool, now I'm gonna watch sumo, and then he's been out.
Yeah,
so
the whole time.
I have no clue who this guy is, essentially. Yeah.
No, he's I caught some of his matches in Juryo, the last tournament, and they were decisive. He did very well. Yeah, 13-2 in September.
I was gonna say, in the division just below the Grand Sumo, there is 13-2. That's incredible. Yeah. That's so good.
No,
who beat him? How?
Yeah, honestly, actually, I'm kind of curious who did. Tohaku Ryu and Kaio, who I'm not super familiar with either of those, actually.
I
don't watch as much Juryo as I'd like to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about the division other than the upper division,
Yeah. Juryo, because they do the recap videos for Makuuchi, and every once in a while you'll see the very first round will be a Juryo wrestler up against bottom level Maegashira. But unlike the top division, if you want to watch Juryo, you have to just watch it live. And we do watch, Felicia and I, we do watch a lot of the Makuuchi matches live. I basically stay up as late as I can. Sometimes I pass out. Watching them live is a very different experience. It's not all truncated. So it's a 2-hour thing where there's a lot of time in between where these very soft voiced, announcers talked about, who do you think is going to win? I think this guy is going to do really well this turn. They're speaking Japanese, but I assume that's what they're saying. And commercials and stuff. It's very easy to fall asleep to, especially when it happens it's 1 a.m. You get to see the occasional this guy's going to be in the next tournament, in Makuuchi and stuff. Shirokuma, they played up Shirokuma so much, and then he got kind of dumpstered last tournament. I hope he comes back. He's got a very fun face.
Yeah. Well, let's get into so we've decided to make a game of podcast and
Yep.
this tournament here. We're each gonna make 3 predictions. We picked 3 of our favorites. Let's pick 3 predictions here about what's gonna happen during this tournament, and we'll see who gets more right.
Yep.
I also tried to be a little bit. I've got 2 good ones and then I've got 1 less good, but we'll see. All right, so I've got, obviously watch out for all the wrestlers that we picked, but I've got as my first prediction that Bushozan is really going to start coming back, and I think he's going to have a winning record.
Bushozan. Okay, I like that.
That's my first. That's like my wild card pick, I suppose. Is
yeah.
I really like that guy, and I think he did well in the last tournament. Let me see. No, he did. He went 4-11
in the last tournament, but he the 3 before that he did fairly well.
There we go. Yeah, no, he's coming back. That was he had a rough time in that last tournament. He's ready to bring it back. I like Bushozan a lot. I think he's got some serious potential, and I'd love to see it.
I'm with you there. I think Bushozan is another very fun one to watch, and we say it every time he's on the screen. He's just a very pleasantly round man. I love that about him.
Yes, very round, and I'm a huge fan of that. And I guess I should say too, just general predictions though, not a part of this game. Every Rikishi that I picked as like my favorite, I hope they all have winning records as well. I think they all will. So
I find myself, like, with the exception of Ryuden and Abi, who I always hope they fail. Abi's like a haha, I'm joking. Ryuden's like, no, you should fail out. Like, I don't want to see you in this tournament anymore.
Yep. Yep. Read about Ryuden's Wikipedia page if you really want to know why. We don't need to go into it now, but yeah.
Exactly. What's it? Everybody else, I'm like, I wish we could all win. I love all these guys. They're all so fun.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things about the fact that it's like 15 days, like 15 matches and all that. It's like, even if your 2 favorites go against each other, it's like, well, that's only one of 15 matches.
Exactly. Exactly. Until Onosato beats Koto Sakura, and that takes Koto Sakura out of the running for first place, and I'm salty about it for the rest of the tournament. But otherwise, it's fine.
Love it.
I didn't really. I was hoping to actually have my predictions like fully mapped out here, but I'll be shooting from the hip a little bit.
Oh, he's winging it. Okay.
Yeah. But my first prediction is, I think that someone we haven't mentioned so far, but I think Wakataka Kage. I think this tournament is going to get him into the back into the Sanyaku. I think he's going to end up Komusubi next to, like, in January as a result of his performance in this tournament.
That guy has been on a fucking tear.
He is a monster, man.
God. Yeah. My favorite thing for non-sumo fans is to show somebody his name and be like, pronounce this.
It's easy enough if you kind of think of him like Waka Flocka Flame, Waka Taka Kage.
Yeah.
But then if you listen to like the Japanese commentator say it, they don't separate it like that. So it's like Wataka Kage or something like that.
Yeah.
It's mystifying. I love it.
Yeah, they flow through it like nothing. It's great. That guy's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So you're saying he's gonna move up in rank there, get to Komusubi.
Yeah, if I had to guess a score, I'm guessing like a 11-4, 12-3, maybe even a 13-2. I think he's a decent candidate to win it. Honestly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of winning it, maybe this is a safe choice, but I'm going in long with this this next prediction I've got here. I say Onosato takes this next tournament.
Again, I like Onosato, but I'll be very disappointed if that happens.
I'm not saying I want this. I'm saying that's my prediction.
That's fair.
I think Onosato's fantastic. Like, I've enjoyed watching his rise in the last few tournaments. He's doing too well, and people need to start taking him down, because I don't want just one dude to dominate the whole like tournament, the whole league or whatever. So
yeah.
I'm not saying I want this, but that guy has been so consistent. Like he had a tournament, I think it was, what was it, where he went like 9-6 in July.
Yeah.
And one of the English commentators, when they were talking about like leading up to the September tournament, basically said like, if that's his floor, like if that's the worst he can do, this guy's gonna just absolutely tear up. And sure enough, yeah, he did in the next tournament. He was champion of the last one, I believe.
He was. He won September and he won May.
Yeah.
So two tournaments this year he has won already, and he started in Makunochi in January. He has not been in the top division for a full year yet, and he's already Ozeki. He is already as high as you can go without being Yokozuna.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy's just on a different level, apparently.
Yeah.
He
is on a rocket ship to Mars right now. He's going nuts.
So this is like obviously like the maybe this is kind of like a baby mode pick, but I feel like picking somebody to win the tournament is like that's a long call. But if I'm gonna put it on somebody, it feels like it's got to be him. We'll see. We've talked about some really good Rikishi in this that like Wakataka Kage could take it. Takara Fuji, I mean, at least cause an upset, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, so it just occurred to me too. Teruno Fuji, the reigning Yokozuna, won January, and he won what was that, May?
Or July.
He won July. Yeah. So we have Takeru Fuji won March. Teruno Fuji won the other two. So like basically, because Teruno Fuji is not going to be in this tournament, like if statistically Onosato wins this one, because like of the other three, Onosato's won 2, Takeru Fuji's won 1. So
let me
Takeru
say
Fuji's kind of our best hope here.
I would not be making this prediction if Teruno Fuji was in the tournament.
If Teruno Fuji is in the tournament, Teruno Fuji wins the tournament. Like
apparently,
yeah. Like because a couple, there's like March and I think in May as well. Like he starts the tournament and then like drops out after day 3 or something like that because injuries. But like if he can stick it out, he wins. That guy is a menace. He is a monster.
He looks just like everybody looks small compared to him.
Totally.
It's so weird how gargantuan this guy seems to be. And like
Even
and
then
like, he just dominates. That tournament in what was it, July, where he was like I'd never seen him like do anything before. That was the first tournament I've seen him in. I was like, all right, let's see how good he's doing. The Ozeki haven't been doing great like lately. The Yokozuna has been out. Like, no way he's gonna. And he just ripped people apart.
Oh yeah, he made it look effortless.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, right. That's why he's on top. Right.
Well, yeah,
we supposed to be great.
It's so nice we got to see a bit of like why that dude is the reigning champ. Like I know he's been dealing with a ton of injuries. He's got diabetes and that's been causing him some problems. And like all this combined makes it difficult to recover and also difficult to like train for the next tournament, right?
Yeah.
Wish him all the best. I hope his career is not over, but like even if it was, like what a career it's been. Yeah, but when he is in fighting form, it's terrifying. Like that is he has aura. Like he walks into the dojo and it's like, oh, he's gonna win, easy, no problem.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, what's your second prediction here?
My second prediction, my second prediction. So, someone else we haven't talked about, Takanosho, in that same tournament where we got to see Teruno Fuji just rip shit apart. Takanosho went on a surprising run. He ended up in a playoff against Teruno Fuji in day 15 and beat Teruno Fuji on day 15 in their regular bout and then lost to Teruno Fuji in the playoff. The following tournament in September, dumpstered. He what was his final score?
4-11.
I gotta look it up now.
I've got it.
4-11.
Yeah,
that's so wild.
The guy who almost won a tournament then proceeds to just get dunked on hard.
Yeah. My guess My guess is he's going to hit a nice equilibrium on this next one. I'm guessing an 8-7-9 or like a 9-6, something like that. I think he's going to return to perfectly middle of the road and not be too good or too bad this next one.
It'll be interesting because he kind of whips back and forth looking at his record, and like I've heard some people talk about him. It's like one tournament does excellent, next tournament terrible, then the tournament after that great, and it's like he just whips back and forth. He could just show up and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go 13-2. Like there's no way to predict my abilities.
And it's like I enjoy watching him fight. I think he's a very fun Rikishi to watch. I did like. As he got closer to winning, to like being the champion over Terunofuji, I was like, now you understand your place, young man. You do not take this away from us who want to see Terunofuji win one. I started in March, okay? I didn't see him win in January. Don't do this.
Yeah, that would have been insane if he won.
Yeah. I was rooting for him until that point. I was like, all right, settle for second, okay?
100%.
Yeah.
I like that one. Okay, so middle of the road for Takanosho.
Yeah, I think he's going to do just fine. I think he's going to get a Kachikoshi and just barely.
Do what's that? Just like a 9 or a 8-7?
Yeah, 8-7, 9-6. That's my guess.
Okay. My third and final prediction is that I think there's going to be another playoff in this tournament, and right as it's about to come together, Terunofuji's going to show up with a steel chair and just take somebody out.
They don't. He's going to show up with one of those seat cushions and just pillow fight him to death.
Just absolute, but it's because it's him using it. It like is now a weapon.
I mean, I wouldn't want him to hit me with one of those. I don't want him to hit me with anything. He could be armed with a feather and I'd be terrified.
That's fair. My final prediction, and this is maybe more of a want, but I think I can back this up. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Neither of us are fans of Ryuden, and I think he's going to have a losing record. And I think
I had that same thought.
And I'm going to say losing record, but if you wanted to press me on what I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a 5-10.
Ooh, 5-10. Okay.
Yeah.
He
did well in the last tournament, but I feel like he hasn't done great. He did good in May, but otherwise hasn't done great. And I love to see him lose. So
yeah, because he was like 3-12 in July.
Yeah, and then we got a 3-12 in January as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he did pretty good last tournament. I don't think it's going to be a repeat.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's about time for another crushing defeat for Ryuden, and I would love to see it.
Exactly. So, all right, so that's my final one. So I'm thinking Bushozan winning record, Ryuden losing record, Onosato takes the tournament.
Actually, if Ryuden did another like if he went 3-12 again, I think he'd be back in Juryo. Because he's my gosh, you're a 13? Yeah, 13 right now. So, if we do the old, 12 minus 3 is 9, which means he'd drop down 9 spots. He'd be out at that point. Fingers crossed, hey.
Fingers crossed, hey.
No, I'm with you. I too hope that happens.
Yeah.
All right, and I feel like it could.
Yeah, that's what I'm rooting for. I gotta have something. If anybody's listened to the Battle School Dropouts podcast, I'm a hater just by my nature, and so I gotta have some sort of animosity towards somebody. I can't just like all of these great guys.
Yeah, and you need a heel. I have a playful hate relationship with Abi because he's an agent of chaos. Every time I want him to win, he loses, and every time I want him to lose, he wins. He just constantly fucks shit up for the people I care about, and that's why I he's my heel. But Ryuden, I'm just no, genuinely I don't care for that dude one bit.
Well, and didn't Abe he hanked your guy in the final day.
He did that too. Well, he beat he beat Onosato in the final day, which was funny because Onosato won the tournament the day before.
Right.
So day 14 wins the whole thing. It's impossible to beat him now. And then day 15, Abi's like, okay, but you are not getting a photo finish here. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, Abi is one of the more liberal users of the Henka, the forbidden technique. And sometimes it works for him, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like he tried it against Tobizaru a couple tournaments ago, and I'm like, the guy they call the flying monkey, that's the one we're going to try and outmaneuver and trick here? The flying monkey? Really?
Yeah.
And it didn't work. Of course, he fucking lost.
The commentary guys too were like the same thing. Like, why would you try that against an agile guy?
Yeah, no,
What?
insane. Like Tobizaru is another like very agile, very crafty Rikishi. Like it does not make sense to do that to Onosato, man. That guy is huge, and he wins every single bout off of the Tachi Eye. Like he just smashes into you and you lose. Dodge him.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, crazy. Funny enough, I don't think he used the Henka to beat him in September.
No.
He just did it straight up.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things where it's like, why now? Why does? Yeah, that was a weird final day.
Yeah. It was him against Onosato. Like if he had won that in the last one that he won, not September, but the one before. If Abi had beaten Onosato there, it would have gone into a 4-wan playoff.
Right.
Which would have included Kotozakura, who I really wanted to see win. And then Abi lost that because he can never let me be happy. He is my eternal enemy. I cannot stand that man, but it's all love, actually.
Dead on. That's great.
Okay, my final prediction. This is also sort of like a hope, but I think it does have like, statistically it has it's possible. I think that it's going to be. I think the winner of this tournament is Takeru Fuji. I think he's going to come back and do it again.
Oh shit!
If anything, I think it would be really cool to see a playoff between him and Onosato, and then he beats Onosato. I mean, I think ultimately it'd be really cool if Kotozakura won because I'm always rooting for him. But like, this isn't that episode. That's going to happen later. Maybe January. Right now, like we've got this fated duel between these two young upstarts, and I think Takeru Fuji's gonna take it.
Yeah. Oh, dude. That's gonna be. I'm so excited for this. I like our opposing long calls there. It's gonna make for an exciting final day, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, I like Onosato, but I'm not gonna bet on him right now because someone's gotta show him what's what. Teruno Fuji's out of the tournament, so it's up to Takeru Fuji, and I guess Abi for some reason. He's got to do it again.
Yeah, it's funny when I was writing out the predictions earlier. I was like, yeah, it's not that I want Onosato to win. I just feel like he's like the safe bet there. And in this conversation over the last like hour or so, I'm like, oh, maybe I actually feel like a lot less confident than I did earlier. Huh? Weird.
Yeah. I want nothing but the best for Onosato. I want him to have a long and illustrious career. I want him to hit Yokozuna someday.
Yeah.
Right now he needs to get shut down. I think Musashi Maru said it best. I think like they've got to put him in his place like for the betterment of sumo. Like he needs to learn and redefine his technique because he's relying on his godlike physique right now, and that's not going to last him forever.
Right. Yeah. Eventually he will get older.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe other people like train up to the point where like and also I think I was reading this ex Ozeki like talk about it on Twitter or something, like basically saying like your strategy is basically like smash into them at the beginning of the round and win off of that, and that's working for now. It will not always work. They're gonna figure it out, and you're gonna start losing a lot if you don't change it up, if you don't have a more sophisticated style of sumo.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think this tournament's going to show that. That's like unofficial fourth prediction. I think his easy wins are over. I think he's going to have to work for it. I don't necessarily mean that he's not going to keep winning. I think he's going to have to work for it a lot harder. It's not going to be like 2-second bouts every time this time.
Yeah, and that's kind of the counter to my prediction and all that. It's like, okay, the guy's been on a tear, which means everybody's going to be looking at, all right, how do I beat this guy? And there's going to be a wealth of information about his technique, and people will be talking about, all right, this guy who's really good, how do you beat him? You know, and
Exactly.
people are going to be coming up with ideas and planning and collaborating on, like, nobody is sitting around figuring out, all right, how are we going to beat Bushozan? He's down at the bottom. He does okay in tournaments. How do we take that guy? Everybody's talking about how to beat Onosato right now.
Exactly. Yeah,
So-
yeah. I think if you're training for this Sumo tournament, like your number one goal is like, I'm going to beat Onosato. Like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So that guy's got a target on his back. If he gets it done, then it's like, uh-oh, he's busted. Nerf Onosato, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's hard to root for him when it's so effortless for him. It's just like, yeah, okay, like of course he's gonna be. He's got plot armor, you know.
Yeah. He is just been on an absolute tear, and it's like, I'm with you. It's one of those predictions where it's like, I'll only be sad if I lose that prediction and then you get the rest of yours right or whatever, and I don't win our little game here. That's the only way I'll be really sad if he's
Exactly. Yeah, for the sake of our competition here.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sake of our competition, I need Onosato to do well and ruin sumo for the next 5 years.
It is also worth noting, especially if you, dear listener, are someone who actually knows a thing or two about sumo as well. We don't know that much. Like we're both super new to the sport. We're loving it. We're just doing this because we have to talk about it. You know, so if you have some input, if you have some predictions, or if we said something totally egregiously wrong and you'd like to correct us on it, hit us up in the comments. We'll have to hear from you.
Yeah, like legitimately, it's kind of funny. Like, you know, everybody's out for engagement and whatnot, but like literally, I just want to talk about sumo more. And like,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you've got thoughts, like, we both got into it this year essentially. So
Yeah.
We could be so off base. There's a very solid chance we just made 3 predictions each, and every one of them will be wrong.
I think it's entirely likely that, like, at least that mine are gonna. I entered a little like prediction game on Twitter this last tournament, and it was something totally simple. I was like, yeah, Tobizaru goes 9-6, easy enough, and then he went like 6-9 or something. Like he ended up in a Makekoshi. Just not performing very well last tournament. And I was like, well, I get that seemed like the safest bet I could possibly make. I tried to keep it as boring as possible. And he was 5-10 this last tournament. Damn.
Oof.
Yeah. So yeah, it was, it's anything can happen. We certainly don't know any better than anyone watching. So yeah, would love to hear, if you have a more educated, enlightened, take, then yeah, love to hear it.
Yeah, and if you're newer to sumo and you are somehow still here and you're excited, we'll have some links down below that'll point to, like, okay, here's like a list of all the people in the tournament and their matchups and all that jazz, and then also we'll link to the main NHK Grand Sumo website where you can watch their tournaments and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we'll have that in the description. So if you're interested, check those out. They're fantastic.
Yeah. And if you do have any questions you think we can answer, happy to hear from you too.
Yeah.
You know, we love talking about sumo. We will talk about sumo with anybody. Talk to us about sumo. Love this. Love it.
Yeah. 100%. Like, we had to do a spinoff. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah. We did go way over our planned runtime, but I think that's acceptable given it's like the intro episode.
Yeah, it's the first one. We're aiming to have the rest be a little bit shorter. So yeah. I guess the follow-up that we're gonna do is we're gonna do another episode about halfway through the tournament. We're gonna talk about how our predictions are shaping up and all that jazz, and then we're gonna do one at the end here. So stay tuned for those. If you're new to the channel or if you're an existing listener, this is just something new that we're trying. So, if you don't like having all this sumo stuff clog your subscriptions or whatever, let us know. We're trying some new stuff here. So
yeah.
And
then
trying
to be a little more active and also, like, it's just going to be during the tournaments, right? So like,
yeah,
I don't think either of us are lost in the sauce to the point where we're keeping up with the off season, like their training regimens and stuff just yet. So
yeah, I am I have not. I hate to say it, but I haven't thought about sumo for like a month. So
I feel like at least every other day, me or Felicia will go like, I miss sumo. Like we've been counting the days quite literally at this point.
Yeah, and I guess to be fair, just about every time we see each other, we're like, hey, let's talk sumo for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, just more of an excuse to do this. Yeah, and then if you happen to think that we're cool guys and you just like hearing our voice, we have a podcast that we've been doing for 4 years that's all about hanging out and watching anime. So you can check that out. That's Battle School Dropouts. You can see how we got the name for this one now.
It's all coming together.
Well, cool. Well, let's see who wins more points after the tournament starts November 10th.
That's right.
Yeah. So check that out. Like I said, links in the description to all that good stuff. Well, I don't have a sign off or anything, but hey, go watch sumo. It rules.
Yeah, sumo rules. Yeah, check that out. There's a lot of good sumo content on YouTube.
Yeah, including, you know what? Let me just start the drama now. Somebody has the name Sumo Stew. I'm Stu, and I'm watching sumo, and we now have beef. I'm sure you're a wonderful person, and I haven't actually watched your channel before, but you and I now have beef.
She seems very nice. Like she has a very pleasant presence. I like her videos quite a bit.
Yeah, could be great, could be an excellent resource, all that stuff. But I'm just required to have beef with this person now. So we're entering our drama era of this channel as well.
I say give peace a chance. When's the collab? We gotta have Sumo Stew here.
Sumo Stew with Sumo Stew.
Sumo Stew too.
It's like a terrible collab. Like the other person's like really happy and nice and all that, and I'm just glaring the entire time.
Just pissed the whole time.
You think you can pick that name? You God damn it.
I have to assume it's just a reference to the stew they eat all the time at Choco Nabe. But.
Yeah. Well, because most stewards out there are STU, so just the chance if they were like me, but they're then they'd probably be Sumo Stew like STU. But yeah, I don't know. You never know. So you just never know. Well, anyways, sumo rules. Go watch sumo and all that jazz. We'll see you in a few days.
That's right. Yeah, middle of the tournament will be the next episode. So yeah, tune into that too.
Hell yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Sumo rules. I'm trying to make that the catchphrase. I'm gonna force it.